First thoughts on the album is that there'll never be another album that will be made like this. Ever. What's up, everyone? This is Tatum. I'm back with another episode of Fuck This Review, where today I'm going to be reviewing Pink Floyd's The Wall. Before I get into the review, it took me so long to do this review, and you can check out all of my other Pink Floyd reviews. I think this is like my fourth one. It took me so long because I had to figure out what this album was. I had to figure out how I was going to do this review of 26 records, hour and 30 minutes worth of content. So I was just trying to just put it all together, for lack of better words. First thoughts on the album is that there'll never be another album that will be made like this. Ever. For better or for worse. The great parts of this album are really breathtaking. The whole story is just breathtaking. Those are just my first thoughts, and I'll get into the rest. So bear with me on this review, because I'm going to try to do a little different for those that's usually looking at my reviews or my other Pink Floyd reviews. Bing. I usually go track by track for the most part, but this one, I just couldn't do that. So I'm just going to this is going to be a vomit of thoughts. Yeah, let's see how this one goes. Let's take a break for a second. Before we get started, please remember to hit that subscribe button. Please remember to hit that like button. Get ready to leave your comments. The road to 1,000, we're almost there. If you like what you see, tell a friend to tell a friend, and let's just keep building this community. Let's get back to the show. This album, let me see, just to give a little backstory on the album. This is Pink Floyd's 11th album, which is fucking nuts. It's part of my language. It's just crazy that this is their 11th album. This is probably their second biggest album, and it's okay. Vomited thoughts. Let's just go. The idea that I got from it, from just reading a little bit and just taking it in myself. The story is about a rock star, and the album's called Wall, so it's all these trauma scenarios that from freaking infant to how each wall was built around him to basically block out society, or for lack of better words, block out society, and just like some self-turmoil kind of thing, you know what I mean? So it starts with In the Flesh, ? Which they go back to on the second disc, and I think that idea alone is just fucking amazing. Not saying, obviously artists have done that before. Beatles have done that. Zeppelin's done that, like a callback, as a comic would say, a callback. But the way it was done with different lyrics on each one, it just was so freaking dope. And Pink Floyd's done that before. So just that idea, let me just say that, just that idea of In the Flesh, ? And the regular In the Flesh is just dope. To me, it immediately takes you in. One thing I will say, though, about this album that I found a little different from the past ones, all the Pink Floyd albums I reviewed up to this point are all concept albums, right? This one, to me, if I could give a negative, it's obviously it's too long. And two, the music itself all kind of just sounds the same. And I know it's a conceptual album. Before you fans start beating me down, I get it. I get why it's supposed to say, but it's like so much the same that it kind of like tires me out as a listener. Okay, let's get back to the story. In the Flesh starts, baby infant, on thin ice, dad dies in a war. The first wall, the first brick in the wall, as I would like to say, the first brick in the wall, the happiest days of our lives, where we go into a child in school, and I can imagine how a child growing up back then in school was, where the teacher is just a prick, beating you down, making you feel low self-esteem, and these are supposed to be the happiest days of your life. As a kid, this is supposed to be joyous. Like, you only get 18 years of that, like at max. And to have these characters who are supposed to be a tremendous impact on your upbringing mentally and physically, and they abuse that, I could see how that could put a child back in trauma and create another brick wall as we go into Another Brick Wall Part 2, which I think was just dope. I think I like the third one the best, though. Sorry. I think I like the second disc better than the first disc. I get the first sidebar. I think the first disc is, it gives the backstory of the rock star, right? It shows all this turmoil, it shows all that. But when we get to the second disc, that's the dope part to me. We go into Mother, which is you know, I lost my dad at a young age as well, and had to be raised by a single mother. Just to give you, you know, a vulnerable moment here. And mother song I can relate to, because single mothers always have to protect their seeds. And this is not no shade to anyone, but they have to protect them a little bit more. You know what I mean? You're the only parent there. So I enjoyed Mother because of just from pure understanding. You know what I mean? And mind you, they're doing the best they can, and some of the things the overprotecting, all that comes off as a good thing, but it can also be detrimental to a child as well. You don't let them fly early as they need to. I guess a lot of emotional and mental stuff, that baggage that comes on with over love, or you know what I mean? It's weird. Goodbye Blue Sky, right? I still don't kind of understand that song. If you the fans in the comments help me out, I still don't fully understand that record. From what I was reading, I read things like it was just a reminiscence of the childhood and the war, and you know, watching the bombs from the sky and children not understanding why they couldn't go outside. Sidebar, how did you guys know what this album was about without these like write-ups? Like in '79 and the '80s and '90s or whatever, when you first time hearing it before so much was written about it, how did you get this for the most part? Leave your answer in the comments. It goes into these like interludes as well as empty spaces. I consider them interludes, and it kind of those type of records kind of like is the bridge between. So he goes into Young Lust, which he's out there on the prowl, a young rock star out there crazy, you know, living life. That's what I got from it. And that record gives me that classic rock feel. I'm not sure if that was a mock or just to paint the story of a rock star in a way. And then one of my turns was the rock star. After the Young Lust, he goes, he gets the groupie, takes her back to the hotel room. She's so taken back by the, oh my gosh, you got this, oh my god, this is bigger than my whole life, my whole apartment type thing. You know how it is. And he's not happy with her. Like, he just got out of a relationship with his wife. I'm not sure if I read things of infidelity there with the story, but I couldn't relate that to anything. Let me know in the comments. He goes with this groupie and realizes that's not where it's supposed to be, where he's supposed to be, and he just flips out, scares the shit out of the girl. She breaks out of the hotel. He's in there having like a moment, like a mental breakdown kind of moment, and just going crazy. Don't Leave Me Now, which was, I would assume, was about the wife, and that separation causes another brick in the wall to go up. So at this point, and it goes into Goodbye Cruel World, and at this point, I think the end of the first disc is like, I build my wall all the way up. No one's allowed in. I'm just gonna self-destruct with my own means, with my own thoughts, with everything, and that's where the second disc picks up, and it's like, Hey You, and I feel that that's like a reflection record and thoughts in yourself, and you're talking to yourself like, was this worth it kind of thing? Was it worth building this wall to block everybody out? Like, is anybody out there? Like, even if you read it, Hey You, is there anybody out there? Nobody's home. like all the songs, even, yeah. Vera, I'm still not sure what that record is about either. That's just me, and I was trying. And then bring another interlude, Bring the Boys Back Home. Then we go into Comfortably Numb, which is, that record is just nonsense of greatness. So back to the story about the rock star, right? He trapped himself in a room with the groupie, blah, blah, blah. He goes crazy, blah, blah, blah. He has a show. What do you know? He has a show, and, you know, they have to come and get him out to, you know, his managers, they money hungry as well, get him out on that stage. So they shoot him up with drugs or whatever. So he's numb, uncomfortably numb. He's numb and he can't feel anything. And Roger Waters said the lyrics was inspired by experience he had when he was injected tranquilizers before a '77 concert in Philadelphia. And he said that was the longest 2 hours of his life. He could barely hold his arms up to play the guitar. I was like, that's fucking nuts. And then it just kind of gets crazy, right? So it goes from that, and then to The Show Must Go On. Like, he's on the stage, show must go on, and it turns into like a hallucination kind of thing where he turns into like this Nazi dictator. And to me, it's kind of like creating a career suicide. He said, so you thought you might like to go to the show to feel the warm thrill of confusion and the space candid glow. I got some bad news for you, sunshine. Pink isn't well. He stayed back at the hotel, and they sent us along as a surrogate band. We're going to find out where you fans really stand. And then he goes into like this, I don't even know if I can say it on here. But blase blah over here, you're over here, with just a bunch of just negative slurs and things of that nature. And they're still loving it as the crowd. Like, they're not even, I don't even think they get it. It's like, what's going on? Run Like Hell, I just feel like he set the wolves on the loose as fans and as the commander in a way, as he's seeing himself. But that record itself is really fucking funky. It has a crazy groove throughout the whole record for what that song actually is about. That's a funky tune. That's a funky tune. Waiting for the Worms. Okay, I'm really gonna need you guys' help on here, because this is another record that I just fully couldn't understand. I know I'm wrong with it. I just know I'm wrong. Waiting for the Worms, I thought of Death. And even Death is like so dead, like in the casket. So like in the casket waiting for the worms underground. And like, you know, you're sitting in a bunker here behind my wall, waiting for the worm. I can't say worms. Waiting for the worms to come. In perfect isolation behind my wall, waiting for the worms to come. I don't know why that just, to me, reminded me of a casket. I know I'm wrong with that. And then to go into like stopping himself, then he goes into like this jail sequence, and then he's on trial, and it turns to like this grand opera kind of thing where he's on trial, which is crazy. And then, you know, he closes it out. This is a journey. This is a journey for an album, I tell you. Let's get into best songs. Trials, that song was just so cool. Comfortably Numb and Hey You. Worst song, that's probably wouldn't even be fair. One of my turns. It probably wouldn't even be fair to say that. Best line, I had a couple, but I'll say All Alone or In Twos. The ones who really love you walk up and down outside the wall, some hand in hand, some gather together in bands. The bleeding hearts and artists that make their stand, and where they're giving their all, some stagger and fall. After all, it's not easy. Banging your heart against some mad bugger walls. I just thought that was cool the way to end it. It just sums up to me like almost the story. It sums up the story and also sums up life in a bit. As far as a rating, this is my honest rating. I'll give this album a 3.5 out of 5 for reasons I'll state in my recap. So let's wrap this shit up. In closing, when it comes to Pink Floyd The Wall, like I said in the intro, I don't think an album like this will ever be created again. From a creative standpoint and just from a record label standpoint, I don't think they will ever let an artist do something like this. I enjoyed it, but it also gave me a headache. And it gave me a headache because I had to, for lack of better words, I had to listen too hard. And I know to all the people out there, the Pink Floyd fans, that's going to come off as like, well, try harder. Like, that's your stupid. That's your ignorance. But it's like, I understand the creative genius in this album. I really do. The story, it's a double disc. The psychologicalness, the pain, I understand the psychological beatdown, the pain, the worship, I understand that. But it's just so much. It's just too much. I didn't find it enjoyable as I enjoyed the previous Pink Floyd albums. It felt like a lesson. Like I had to take like mad crazy notes. I had to do, like, it was just too much to enjoy. And when the music is like that, I kind of just stray away from it. But I wanted to do this one because, I mean, it still is one of the greatest albums of all time. Just from a creative standpoint, the shit's magnificent. From a production standpoint, the shit is magnificent. It's avant-garde, grand, everything that you think of. But it's an hour and 30 minutes. It's way too long. They could have compacted this story into one disc. They could have. I didn't want to even sound too harsh, but because I enjoyed it as well, but I had to be truthful. You know, I couldn't do this without being truthful about that. So Pink Floyd fans, bring the smoke. I'm ready. I'm ready for all the smoke. Drop it in the comments. Let me know. I'm ready. Still subscribe. Still hit that like button. I know it's coming after this. So by then, maybe you could school me on something that I didn't know, or change my mind about certain things, or just educate me on some things that I just didn't know about the record. And I'm looking forward to that as well. But as always, fuck this review. I'm Tatum. Peace.